We study world history to learn about historical context and bias, and to learn about the successes and failures of the past, and to learn from them. Now, a prime example of this is studying the humans of the past, the leaders, those who led civilizations, those who built the world into what it is today. Two of these that we studied extensively were Adolf Hitler and Napoleon Bonaparte. Now, one, being Hitler, was considered to be evil to most people in the world, but the other was considered to be debatably good. Now, both were exceptionally charismatic and powerful leaders, but both suffered from the same plight. Now, they say overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer, and this was true for the both of them, because this sparked both of their downfalls. Now, this shows that even the greatest of people, even the most powerful, can be struck down, even if they were considered to be good, like Napoleon Bonaparte. And also that overconfidence is inherently a negative trait, and one that we should not inherit. Now, another topic that we study were the movements of the past. This would include the Enlightenment and communism. Now, the Enlightenment we study because it was a period of philosophy and intellectuality. Now, the Enlightenment sparked a period of time in which massive innovations were made towards math, science, and literature. Now, this was considered to be good, but others not so great, like communism. See, communism is the ideology that everyone should be equal in terms of wealth and distribution of food and shelter. Of course, as we see during the Russian Revolution, communism failed horribly and led to the deaths of millions and millions of people due to overpopulation, starvation, and executions. Now, speaking of the Russian Revolution, we tend to study conflicts or events that happened in the past. The Russian Revolution, prime example. Now, during the Russian Revolution, this was the first time communism was implemented on a major scale. Now, millions of people were following communism, but the issue with this is that when you come across a society that is massive and does not have a leader, one is destined to rise up in the ranks. And we see this with Joseph Stalin. Now, of course, as we studied, Joseph Stalin killed millions and millions of people. And this is why the Russian Revolution is such an incredible topic to study, because very similar to the Holocaust, this is a situation in which people died for a dumb reason, because someone was incredibly power hungry and just wanted to kill people. Now, another event that we study is the Industrial Revolution. Now, the Industrial Revolution was important because it sparked major innovations in almost every aspect of life, mostly mechanical. Now, of course, without the Russian Revolution, we wouldn't have many of the innovations that we see today, like that light bulb or electricity, honestly. And I would not be the person I am today, as cliche as that sounds, if it weren't for the Russian or the Industrial Revolution, because I wouldn't have much of the technology that this generation relies on. Now, the last topic that we study extensively were documents or images of the past to gain some context. Now, the first of these was the Liberation of Dachau letter. Now, this letter was written by an American soldier who was liberating the concentration camp known as Dachau. Now, this was an incredible piece to read because he describes in great detail the disparities that these Jewish and other people, were going through. Now, we hear him describe that the people there were like skeletons, and there were so many corpses that it was difficult for him to even move around. And this is an incredibly powerful piece to read, because it hurts to read. It hurts to understand what these people were going through, honestly. Now, another letter that we read relates to the Russian Revolution. This is Joseph Stalin's The Need for Progress. In this letter, he talks about how, well, of course, in the title, the need for progress. This letter is interesting because we see Joseph Stalin, this man who was known as a dictator, an evil dictator, we see him in this letter almost sounding compassionate. And this is what is so terrifying about Joseph Stalin, is that he through his propaganda and through the way he speaks, through his charisma, he sounds like a normal, everyday, kind person. And that was the issue with the Russian Revolution. That's what caused the deaths of so many people, because so many people trusted communism because someone who was so good with his words was at the helm of the whole operation. Now, in conclusion, through this course, through this world history course, I have learned many, many things. Of course, that just sounds cliche, but I truly have. Before freshman year, or even during freshman year and before, I would not understand the context of all these situations that I've talked about so extensively, like the Holocaust and the Russian Revolution and the Industrial Revolution. I wouldn't understand what really happened because we're given things in this lens. What they say is history is written by the victors, and that is true. And that's why we have classes like world history, to learn what is true and what is not. Like, hell, we don't know, was the moon landing faked? Is the earth flat? We'll never know because we've never experienced it ourselves. But through many different colliding texts in world history, we are able to learn and understand what truly happened during these events. Now, of course, in the future, I plan to use the lack of bias and allow context to take over my life, to understand, to not just not judge a book by its cover. I need to read about and understand and have many different accounts of different events before I know what has happened and before I can give my verdict. And for that, I'm incredibly thankful for this world history course. Thank you.